Hello, I'm Lee from the blog Little by Little Home, and today I'm going to share with you something I found alongside the road and gave a makeover to. A week or two ago, I was taking a walk and happened to peek down one street. I looked down and I was like, oh, I see some furniture out by the side of the road. It's spring cleaning time, and I decided to take a little detour, walk down and check it out, and I was like, oh my goodness, I need to get that. So here's the backstory. I had been looking for a coffee table, so now you know what it is, and I'm sitting on it right now. I've been looking for a coffee table on Marketplace for a long time, and I just haven't found anything that would fit well in this space, something that was in my price range and a style that I liked. I found this on the side of the road and I was like, it's free. I mean, that is definitely in my budget. I quick walked home, grabbed one of my kids, got my minivan, drove around the corner, and we pulled up. And the funny thing is that there was this old junky couch that was there, was super faded. And my son was like, are we here for the couch? I was like, no, there's a coffee table behind the couch. He was like, okay. So we put it into our minivan, drove it home, and my family was like, really? I was like, yeah, this is gonna be great. When it comes to something that you find alongside the road, my thought is it's free, and if it doesn't work out, guess what? I can just put it out in front of my house and someone else will pick it up or the garbage man will come and take it. So it's basically zero risk at all. I figured I'd bring it home, take a look. Maybe if it didn't work well in our home, it wasn't fixable, then I would just put it out on the side of the road. But the good news is it was fixable. So I brought it inside, got it all cleaned out. James took a look at it. The major thing that it had, besides just the look, it needed some love mostly. There was some water damage, and the top was a little quite not, the seams don't match up, and for me, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's a real wood. It's coffee table. It's not particle board. It's not any fake kind of wood. So for me, it was worth taking the time to work on that. So the first thing was to get it cleaned up, and then James worked on stabilizing it. I didn't want any type of screws or anything coming from the top of the coffee table, so he had to stabilize it from underneath. And it really is warped to a point that if I was going to resell it, I wouldn't get a ton of money for it, but really it was okay. Again, things don't have to look perfect. I don't mind things that show their age and show that they've been worn. As far as the makeover of this coffee table, I had a couple different options. The easiest would be just to get it cleaned up and to paint the entire thing. The hardest would be to sand it all and then stain it. Hard, not necessarily meaning difficult work, but more so time-wise that it would take. Again, the easiest would just be paint it, and I've done that for a lot of pieces of furniture. But this time, I really didn't want a painted piece of furniture. If you can see back here, this is our TV stand. It's a dresser that I converted into a TV stand. It is partly painted, and then it has the wood on the front of the dresser. It's the first time I've ever done that kind of look, and I really love it. But I didn't, because that's painted, I didn't want this painted, and I've added some other wood tones into our living room. So I decided to try and stain it first. Painting it is always a great backup. If the staining of it did not turn out well, you could always go and paint it. So always remember that if you ever pick up a piece of furniture or even to find something for cheap and you're gonna fix it up, if the staining doesn't go well, you can always paint it. The couple of options that I came up for this coffee table was to paint the entire thing, stain the entire thing. I could stain the top and paint the bottom, or I could stain the bottom and paint the top. Lots of different options I could have done. Again, I decided just to stain the entire thing. In order to get it to the point of being able to accept stain, it needed to be sanded down. That took me probably at least half a day. I had to split it up into 2 different days of work because I had stuff going on with my kids, but I just had to sand the entire thing down. And I'm so glad that I did. I will admit I was a little sore from all the bending over and being hunched over, but I kind of had an idea, a vision of what this could look like, and it was worth the time and the effort that I put into it. To stain this coffee table, I used a hand palm sander. First, I used a 60 grit just to try to get all of the rough edges, there was a lot of watermarks, there were some paint marks. It had just been really well worn and there was no top coat on it. So I was able to use the palm sander on all of the flat surfaces. When it came to the legs and the turns of it, I had to just use a 60 grit sandpaper and just do it by hand. This is the part that I was dreading, and this is why it is easier just to go ahead and paint it. Painting that doesn't take very long at all, but the sanding of it does. Again, I had an idea, a vision of how I wanted it to look, and again, if it didn't turn out well, I could just go ahead and paint the bottom or paint the entire piece. It did take a while to do that, hand sanding, to get into all those corners, but persevered. Once it was completely sanded, then I cleaned it off really well, got all the sawdust off, and then went back in and stained it. I prefer to use a gel stain if I can. It really just, the wood, especially the raw wood, will just absorb it. It brings out the beauty. And if you have wood tones in it that are slightly different, what I found on the top of this coffee table is that there's 4 different pieces. 2 of them are seamed together quite well. The other 2 on the outsides had a lot of water damage and are not seamed as well. But I can see there's 4 different pieces and they all had a slightly different tone. By using the gel stain, it gave it all an even look. If I was to use a regular stain or no type of stain and just put a poly on it, you would have been able to see the 4 different boards because they all were slightly different tinted. So, gel stain, I highly recommend it. Always wear gloves. I have a brand that I prefer to use. It's General Finishes, and I haven't been able to find them in stores locally, but I can order them online, and I will link the blog post for this, which has a link to that if you're interested in that product. Highly recommend it. I've done it on a lot of different pieces of furniture. I have even done it to bring out on our banister in our main entrance there, just to bring out the tone of the wood. It just really makes wood look better, I think, than it does with stain. Stain just seems a bit flat. I don't know. It's just my personal preference. Now the gel stain will give you specific directions on exactly how to apply it, how much time is allowed. I use some old socks that my kid had grown out of and they're clean. That's what I've been using lately for a lot of different staining projects. It's just some old socks. So when your kid grows out of socks, don't throw them away. Go ahead and use them. So I used that, put the gel stain on it, allowed enough time to dry. I think I let it dry overnight. And then I came in the next day and put the top coat. I used the General Finishes top coat that they have. You could do some type of polyacrylic or a polyurethane. Just know that if you use a polyurethane, it has a yellow base and it will make the piece of furniture look a little bit more yellow. If you're doing a darker gel stain, that might not matter as well. But I really wanted just more of a flat look. I didn't want anything shiny. And so since the General Finishes has a top coat, I decided to use that because I knew it would work well with their product of the gel stain. So I put 2 coats of the top coat on and let it air out a bit. It will smell some, so if you can do it somewhere outside, maybe in your garage, that's where I ended up putting the stuff on and just leaving it there overnight. The coffee table has 2 drawers. When I sanded it down, I removed those and sanded those down as well. The hardware on it just was kind of boring. It needed a little bit of updating, and I decided to spray paint it. I was deciding between a black or a gold/brass. I decided to go with the black after holding up the 2 spray paint cans next to the wood, and I felt like the black made it pop a little bit more. Quick spray paint of those and put them back on. And I did something fun inside the 2 drawers. Because not many people are gonna see it, and after redoing the entire piece, I looked inside the drawers and they were just scuffed up and marked, and it just looked really bad. I'm like, after all the work that I have put into this coffee table, why am I ignoring the inside of the drawer, which really nobody's gonna see very often at all. But I went down to my basement and dug through my different paint containers and I found a blue. I was like, I haven't used this in a long time. Decided to do that. There's no blue, there's none of that color at all in our living room or even in our house, but I thought that would just be kind of a fun pop of color. All right, so why am I telling you about this coffee table makeover? Mostly because I want to encourage you that, like, put the brakes on, stop if you happen to see something on the side of the road, get out, take a look at it. Sometimes my kids are embarrassed. I'm like, it doesn't hurt to get out and look. When I put something on our curb and someone comes and picks it up, I am absolutely thrilled. I'm excited that somebody else has an idea and they can use that in their home. So if you're taking a walk, you're taking a bike ride, a hike, well, maybe not a hike because you might not find furniture in the woods, but anytime you're out, if you happen to see something along the side of the road, pull up, take a look at it, especially if it is a piece of furniture that is made out of real wood and not just whatever the fake wood is. I don't know what they call all that stuff. But I will stop and I will break and I will check out whatever it is, especially if it's real wood, see if I can figure out something to do with it in my home. If not, another option is to bring it. If maybe you don't need a coffee table, bring it home, make it over, put it on Facebook Marketplace, somewhere, reach out to friends, family, see if anybody's interested in buying it. Maybe you sell it for $40. Guess what? It cost you some time, but you made some money then as well. So I hope that encourages you to look beyond when you happen to see a piece of furniture, look beyond what it presently looks like and see that there is definitely potential in it. So how much did this project cost me? $0, because I do a lot of projects. I have the gel stain, I have the paint, I have the brushes, I have all this stuff on hand. So if you are an avid DIYer, you might actually have some of these things on hand. And if you aren't, if possibly you found something on the side of the road and this has inspired you to give it a makeover, go ahead and head on to your local hardware store, make some purchases of things, knowing that this little container of gel stain that I have is probably about 4 ounces, and I think this is the third project I've used it on. So a little bit goes a long way. So an investment of maybe $10, you might get a couple of projects out of that, again, depending upon the size of the pieces of furniture. But for me, it's been a good investment just to purchase some of these things, and I always have them on hand. So this project cost me $0. It was probably about a day's worth of work between all the different hours. I think it was over 3 days that I spent doing it. Completely, totally worth it. Thanks for watching this video. I hope that it has inspired you to take a look at anything you happen to see along the side of the road. It might be perfect for your house, or maybe not. It really doesn't hurt taking the time and bringing it home. If it doesn't work out, you just put it out on your side of the road and someone else will be excited to find it. But again, thanks for watching. Would love to hit that subscribe button, and see you next time.